You're listening to 66.6 FM, Radio TOVH, The Flush.
Hey there, everybody. It's me, Joe Thrashenkill, and you're listening to another thrilling episode of the Toilet of Hell radio show. I'm joined today with my left-hand man, right-hand man, I guess. Yeah, I think it's the right's the good one, right?
They're both good.
Yeah. You kind of want both hands.
We want left hand for that death metal, right? Left hand.
The left hand path,
yeah.
I guess we can say for this month.
Okay, well, this guy, he's like he's the golden boy. He's good. He'd be the right hand path. So my right hand man, I'm talking, of course, about 365 Days of Horror, or as we like to call him, Jordan. Jordan, how are you doing?
I am good. I am ready to do the monster mash.
Fuck yeah, dude! Like, Andrew. I'll go ahead and spoil it. On our left hand path, we have Andrew Lee from Rip to Shreds. Andrew, how are you doing?
Yo, what's up, everyone? I'm doing pretty good.
So every year that we do these Halloween episodes, we started off with the Monster Mash, and nothing gets me more fucking amped than hearing the chains go and thinking about pumpkins or whatever dancing in a graveyard. It's fucking awesome. I love that shit. So Andrew, I think we've mentioned your work on the Toil of Hell a time or two. I think folks are familiar with Rip to Shreds, which. Gosh, I think we first covered back in 2018 or so. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think you guys were the first site to feature our music. Actually,
we're ahead of the curve. Incredible. And that's good. You've got a new record coming out on Relapse. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we got a new record, 巨变, coming out on October 14th. 8 songs of death metal, grindcore, all that good shit.
We love that.
Yeah. I think, everyone, of course, says their newest is their best, but of course, this is our best record yet. Lots of solos, lots of melody, lots of riffs, lots of everything, really. So
that's pretty exciting. Have you had an opportunity to play much as a live unit yet?
Yeah. So like the dudes. So I've had the drummer Brian and the bassist Ryan since I think late 2019, and then we played our first shows. I think February of 2020, and then right after that, the pandemic got in the way.
A little bit.
But then, I think maybe like a year after that, we managed to start playing a couple more shows. We played the Decibel Festival in LA, and then we supported Cruelty when they came over from Japan for a couple of shows in California, and then in July we were up in Seattle for Northwest Terror, and then we have our release show with Ghoul on October 22nd. That's like our Halloween release show, and more shit in the future, I guess.
So that's if you're a West Coaster, that's all well and good. But what about us folks that are in other parts of the country?
So we maybe East Coast at the end of next year. That's not set in stone yet. That's like a very kind of maybe sort of kind of thing. Talking with some of my friends, but we do have a tour plan for Europe in April next year, and then we're gonna hit up the UK, Germany, the Netherlands. I think maybe France as well. So we're all pretty excited about that over here.
That is incredibly exciting. So mark your calendars when the dates come through, and go see these boys when they come to your town. Now, a lot of people, of course, big fans of Rip to Shreds. But I think that there's another project that is, equally, if not of greater importance. I'm talking, of course, about Andrew Lee's heavy metal Shrapnel. You put out that record, I think it was last year. I loved it. Is there any news from the heavy metal Shrapnels?
Yes. So I'm changing direction a little bit. So the next thing that's going to come out is a split with First Fragment.
Oh, sick.
The song that I wrote for that has vocals now. And then I got Mark Bowles, the ex-Yngwie guy, to sing on it. And I'm not totally sure when that's going to come out. Like maybe end of the year, maybe like January. And then, once I've got some of my other, 100 projects all settled, I'm going to start working on the full length for that.
That's pretty incredible, getting an ex-Yngwie singer. But does it make you feel a little bit like you sold out by going vocals on your instrumental project?
That was always the plan for the second album, because I also feel like I only really had that one instrumental album in me. Like if I try to think of doing another instrumental album now, like I wouldn't even know where to begin. I feel like I kind of like just blew my wad, and so now I need to edge myself a little bit, come up with some new material, let it simmer for a couple more years, and in the meantime I'm going to do this thing with Mark Bowles. Okay,
all right, that totally makes sense, and that's pretty exciting though. How did you get in contact with him?
Actually it was really easy, because I was thinking, I love all the old Yngwie stuff, and when I think of like power metal or glam, I'm always thinking of like these super high vocals, and I love the new wave of traditional heavy metal, but personally I always feel like the biggest sticking point to me with the new heavy metal bands is that the singers are like just kind of okay. They're not like incredible, amazing singers, I
mean, I've encountered like 1,000 incredible guitarists in the metal scene, but the number of people that can actually sing is, there's like 3.
Yeah, and like a lot of these USPM bands that I love, like the kind of like the rougher edged ones, like Slow Fag, or let's say, I don't think Liege Lord is fair, because the guy can sing is just really weird, or like Demon Bitch, they can sing, but it's always got kind of like a rough kind of odd quality to it. It's like part of the charm, but it's not like they're conventionally great singers. And then when I'm thinking of when I think of glam that I like, Don Dokken, old Jeff Tate, Bon Jovi or whatever, they're all like real singers. And then so I felt like, if I want to do this the way I want to do it, I got to have like a real singer. And so I was just looking around and seeing, who I could hire. And I saw that Mark Bowles, he'd worked with this dude who like made some indie rock stuff that, I thought honestly wasn't that good. So I was like, hey, maybe he'd be willing to work with me,
And there you go. It never hurts to ask.
Yeah.
That's terribly exciting stuff. Looking forward to hearing that whenever that split comes out as well.
I mean, hey, I'll shoot you a link after the podcast.
Ooh, see, listeners, this is the real benefit to starting your own publication. You get the shit before everybody else. There is another thing I've wanted to ask you about this for years now, I think. I don't know exactly the actual name for it, but the body pillow with your body on it. Can you tell us about this? I think the most unique merch I've ever seen a band put out.
The Dakimakura. Yeah. So I don't even know how it got started in Japan, but people just made body pillows, and they printed they printed their favorite anime characters on these body pillows, and often it's really creepy art of these characters, but I guess it's kind of a popular item for them. And I thought, I love anime. I don't want to put creepy art on this, but I think my pose would kind of like fit on a pillow. So you know what? I'll just make one and see who wants it.
And did you sell out of your run?
Oh, I made them print on demand. So
Okay.
I think I sold like 6 or something like that, which, you know, for an item this ridiculous, I think 6 is a pretty good number.
Absolutely. And, you know, that really lets you know who your biggest fans are. You can, you know, of course, target them for future opportunities.
On the show in the past couple weeks, we've kind of talked about band names and how we've ran out of band names. Bands are called Shelf and, you know, just generic things like that.
Algebra.
Yeah, just kind of bland. And, you know, I like the name Rip to Shreds. You know exactly what you're going to get. And it's that just good, solid death metal name that just everyone knows, even if they've never heard it or things like that. And being a relatively new band, I'm kind of curious if you've ever had to deal with like an old band that put out a demo in the 90s from Cleveland trying to pop up and saying like they own the name and you owe them money.
I think there are actually like 3 other bands named Rip to Shreds. I think there's like a punk band from Seattle from like the late 90s and a power violence band from England from the like early 2000s. And I think one other punk band somewhere else in the US that, you know, they had like one demo, but, you know, I figure it's not really that big a deal.
If there's already like a couple of you guys and, you know, they didn't kill each other over it, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get hooked up with Relapse?
Oh, so I worked with Mike from Horror Pain Gore Death on a split, the one with Brain Corrosion, and I guess basically he's kind of like a talent scout gatekeeper for Relapse. And when I was thinking about, because, you know, like the middle of 2021, I was thinking, you know, it's been a while since I put out new RTS music. It's time to start thinking about writing a new record. And then I felt like we'd kind of outgrown Pulverized a little bit, so it was time to look for a label that was based in the States and that could help us get to like that next level here. And so I just started like sending out some emails. I asked Mike, you know, if he think Relapse would be interested, and then he pitched it to the upper management at Relapse, and they were into it.
There you go, folks. You can do it too. Your band just needs to be better.
Yeah, don't just send an email that's like contact@relapse.com. They're not going to see it. They're not going to read it.
Actually, because I spoke with, you know, because, you know, when it comes down to all this contract stuff, you know, you need like a real lawyer to look at all of it. And so there's this one guy, Ula Garrett. He came recommended from my friend Damien from Horrendous, because he did their contract stuff with Season of Mist. And, you know, he wrote for like Metal Maniacs in the 90s. He worked at Century Media, I think, as a regional manager. And then right now, actually, we also deal with Ula for license, because I run Nameless Grave with my friend Brandon. And then we go to him to license old titles from like Metal Blade that we want to like reissue. And actually, I think if you have upper management's personal emails of labels, you can just kind of email them, you know.
That helps a little bit too. But again, also your band should be better. That's general advice. Wanted to get this quick question out here for the new record. How many HM2 pedals would you say that you used on this one?
I actually only used 2 different pedals.
Oh.
I used you guys are based out of Texas, so you guys know Joe from Lone Wolf Audio?
Yeah, I've got his left-hand Wrath pedal. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, so I used one of those. So like I had 2 guitar rigs that I blended. One was the PV VTM 120 running through a Mesa 4x12, and the other was a Marshall DSL 100 running through a Marshall 1960B, and I had the Lone Wolf running through the PV, and there's this pedal company from Sweden called Decibelix, and I think it's Sweden, and they have like a super small form factor HM2 called the Angry Swede, and that one went through the Marshall, and I just blended those two together to kind of get the sound for the album.
That's awesome. Jordan doesn't know anything about like guitars or pedals or anything like that, so I really appreciate learning about this stuff while he's like, God damn it. All right. It is the time of the Halloween Spooktacular. We did bring you on to talk a little bit about your body pillow, but also we wanted to talk a little bit about horror movies. We have a specific one we're going to talk about out here, but first let's just get a little bit of background. When did you first find yourself like a regular consumer of horror movies?
That's kind of a tough question. I feel like I didn't really. I know I watched a couple in high school, but I wasn't like a huge fan of them. Mm-hmm. I was definitely more into like Hong Kong action movies, martial arts films, that kind of stuff. I think I probably watched like The Exorcist or Ring or a couple of those, well-known ones.
Yeah.
Back then, but I think it's probably wouldn't have been until the last few years where I started, watching some of the more cult horror movies or some of the more, I guess, like the stuff that's coming out on like A24, Midsommar or Hereditary, or even some like really awful schlocky stuff like I don't know, Sinister or. Man, there's this one movie I watched, I think, on Amazon Prime that was about like some college students who would just get killed in. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I can't remember it, but it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I just started watching a whole bunch of these awful horror movies for nothing better to do.
Yeah, but my wife is a horror fan, so we got a Shudder account years ago, and just generally whenever I'm moving throughout the house, the lowest budget, shittiest movie you can imagine is playing on the TV. So I've really expanded my horizons from the elevated horror to just total fucking schlock, man. Just fucking every movie about an evil snake or whatever. Goddamn. So I never know what to expect when we have a musician on to talk about a movie. We've seen all kinds of things. Some of them very good. Some of them barely watchable. Things bordering the profane, especially with the 70s Italian movies. So when you suggested this movie, Impetigore, I had never heard of it, but I knew it was on Shudder. Perfect. Got the login for that, and Jordan borrowed it from me. And within like the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, this is actually sick as hell. So a very, very nice surprise for me. How did you come about this one?
I think I was just looking through like a recommendations list of good shit on Shudder, and Impetigore. I'm not like totally sure how it's supposed to be pronounced, but like the band Impetigo. I assume it's like Impetigore. I'm not totally sure.
Is that how you pronounce it? I've been pronouncing it Impetigo for years.
Same.
I think it's Impetigo. We can look it up, right? Impetigo.
I can't pronounce like conditions or medications, and that's like a huge problem in my day-to-day life. So you're probably right. People just make fun of me.
According to mayoclinic.org, it's Impetigo.
God damn it. All right, well, we learned something today, Jordan.
Now I'm just going to have to start pronouncing other band names like Edu Vitae and just kind of fancy it up a little bit, because that's really how you pronounce it, apparently.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. But I mean, like, how many times do you have to talk to a Finnish person?
Not often.
Yeah, that's fair.
Finland doesn't actually exist, right? It's just a conspiracy.
That's what we keep talking about. The other day we learned that the surviving members of Children of Bodom are opening up a bar/sauna, and we decided that's too on the nose, not real at all. So yeah, obviously fake. This one though, this is out of Indonesia, right?
Yep.
It's Joko Anwar. Is that the feller's name?
Yeah, I think so. Joko Anwar. Anwar.
Yeah. So
Yes,
this is, I believe, his second big release. The first one came to pretty big acclaim, called Satan's Slaves. I think I recall reading that was one of the biggest box office releases in Asian history. So this one came with some big expectations, and boy, I dug it. So overall, Jordan, you're typically a little bit more lukewarm on movies than I am. What do you think overall on this one?
Overall, I enjoyed it. Glad I watched it. I think there's some good things about it. There's some good atmosphere. I like the good locations. I think, especially with like Southeast Asia, there's a lot of untapped horror stories you can go to, whether it's just location-wise, jungle, forest, and just a lot of new to Western horror fans for like folklore and stories and history that I think is definitely interesting and appealing. There's a lot of humor in this movie and like actual genuinely funny and not like we're trying to be funny. Just like good back and forth between the main characters that kept it entertaining and relatively light. I think I was expecting different than what we got in this movie. I think I was expecting a little more supernatural and a little more violence and gore, especially for a movie that deals with people not having skin. I thought it would be a lot more violent and a lot bloodier than it was.
With gore in the title, I also expected more gore, I guess. But I was okay with it. I think, like you said, what I was most impressed about with the movie was, how funny the two lead actresses were. Just incredible back and forth between the two.
It was very natural.
Yeah,
I think if I had like one complaint about the film is that the sidekick died way too early.
Agreed.
And very easily.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess it kind of like ratchets up the tension, right? Because like she was such a big part of the first half of the movie, so it kind of feels like you know the stakes are real. Maybe anyone can actually die in this movie.
I think with like a lot of, especially like slashers and other horror movies, like the higher the body count, the more you can kind of whittle away. Because once the friend dies, sorry, spoiler alert, there's only one person left and it's the main character. There's not like a slower build to it or the monster, the bad person, whoever it is doing the killing is getting closer. It's just like, well, that's one done. Now we're on to the last one. So I guess I could have included some more friends, one more to get killed, but we'll get into that later.
I don't know. I think that the way that it's presented, the two girls that are the lead actresses, they're struggling young women that they're constantly clowning on each other. One for being a whore, one for like not getting laid, which is a classic comedy bit, you know. So having that element removed where it just goes to straight tension, I think it was effective. But again, I just want to see a buddy movie between the two.
Definitely, yeah.
So let's see. This came out in 2019, right? I'm not losing my mind here. Okay.
Yep, 2019.
Yeah, I think 2019 for like the domestic audience, and then it hit international audiences the year after.
Okay, so we're still fairly recent here. With a problem I have with a lot of more recent movies, not just horror movies, but movies in general, is how everything is kind of computer generated and looks like the same shit brown. Which thankfully this one it's a little drab in places, but it makes sense because you're in like jungle,
a dusty ass village
yeah.
that doesn't have electricity. Looks like it's straight out of like the 40s or something.
Yeah, there's an orange glow throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, and like that's from, like you mentioned, like lanterns because there is no electricity in the village. I think another effective thing, like a trope in horror movies, is the sensation of everything's hot and sweaty, and you definitely get that here. It's the same thing as like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It looks impossibly hot. Everybody's sticky and gross. Works great here to the same effect.
Yeah, especially the climate down there. It's because I was actually in I'm not sure which part of Indonesia the movie is supposed to be set in, but I've been to Bali before, and it's so humid and sticky.
Yeah, if you can show everybody's a little bit more miserable, I think that ups the ante a bit. Like you mentioned that you enjoyed the A24 horror movies, and I think The Witch is a great example. Like, make it more miserable. That makes it scary.
Right.
So this one begins with our two leads. It's Denis and Maya, who are toll booth clerks. Is it clerk is what it's called? Attendant? Collector, toll booth attendants who work in separate booths and just gab it up between the two of them while they're working their shitty jobs. And it's really affecting this opening bit where you get a sense of their rapport, where they're clowning on each other. It's very funny, and then all of a sudden the tone just fucking turns on a dime there. Jordan, can you describe what happens there?
So Maya and Dini are talking on the phone, just random stuff, talking about like jokingly becoming prostitutes and then not wanting to be with any of the men. And Maya mentions that there's been a man that's been coming by the past couple of nights and creeping her out and just staring at her and acting weird, looking gross. And he shows up once again at the toll booth, and he stares at her and he stares at her, and she's very uncomfortable. And finally he goes through the booth, but before he does, he starts asking her questions like, what's her name? Is she from a village called, I think, Harjosari? He calls her by a different name, Rahayu, asking who her father was, and she's just really weirded out as he drives off. But he just pulls to the side of the road and gets out with a big machete, a big-ass knife, and she's terrified. She's still on the phone with her friend who is calling security for help. She can't get out of the booth. She's trying to close the window as this man's getting closer and closer, and it's very claustrophobic because this is a tiny booth with all she has is a little radio on playing old AM Indonesian hits. And I question her idea of running from the booth. At least within the booth she was safe, but she made a run for it, and this man catches up to her, knocks her down, and it looks like she has a scar on her leg, and he cuts the scar, and what was it exactly he says? Like, the village needs to be free, something along those lines.
Your family left something in our village we would like removed.
I think he mentions her dad specifically, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he says, he asks her, is this her father? And as he's about to kill her, a police officer shows up and shoots him. And that's the, first 5 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a strong start.
Absolutely. Like you said, the claustrophobic area of a toll booth, that works really well for me. Again, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Heightening the tension here, you have a woman who is scared and alone working this shit-ass job, and a hostile man comes up to her. That's not out of the ordinary of something that could happen either. So already highly tense moment for, like you said, 5 minutes. So yeah, that guy gets domed by a cop, and we fast forward to the girls are. What exactly are they doing? They opened up a thrift store or something?
I think they're selling fake brand clothing.
Oh, hell yes, that's so much better.
Yeah, they're no longer toll booth collectors, and they're selling knockoff clothes in an open air market, and business is very bad. That's
so much. I love that. Just dirtbag ladies. It's good stuff. So yeah, they get busted for smoking in the ladies' room as well. Again, adding to the dirtbag charm there. And Our Lady. It's gosh, what I'm trying to remember what her name in the
Maya.
Maya, not Rahayu. It's Maya. Notices a little piece of paper fall out of her leg.
The cut.
Yeah, it's like the place that the crazy machete dude cut her.
Yeah.
And then like I think she notices it's like bleeding, and then so she's like touching the cut, and then she finds like this bit of paper that was stuck inside the cut. You know, and then she unrolls it, and then she sees there's like some ancient Javanese writing on it.
Big fan of that. Big fan of the body horror of just sticking something in somebody's body. So she.
The one thing I do question though, that like when she unrolls it, it's pretty clean. You know, for something that. I don't know. This is probably like spoilers, right? I mean, but we're discussing the whole movie.
Yeah.
Something that's like supposedly been stuck in her body for 20 years, you know? It's not going to be that clean.
It's not going to be that clean, but also like if that's just, notebook paper, I think that it'd probably break down by then. You might need some like parchment or something like that to make that effective.
I guess it is magic, right?
It is. I was going to say we could say that because this parchment has powerful old magic. We later find out maybe that has also powerful Mr. Cleaning effects to it.
That's true as well. In which case, it's a real shame that she drops that roll of parchment down the toilet because she might need it later in the future.
Well, she does take a picture of it on her phone.
She does take a picture of it, which is very smart. Something that you and I talk about, Jordan, a lot is the complications of making a horror movie in an environment where you have cell phones. So a number of things like this movie does really well to address that. It's like, well, I was mad that they were in a village that had no electricity. I'm like, how is she using her phone? At one point, she pulls out a mobile charging unit. I'm like, God damn it! Okay, you got me there.
They've thought of everything.
This is important to me. How does she come about finding her provenance here?
She has an old photo that her aunt gave her that shows Maya as a young girl with a man and a woman who I think she's told her parents, but she doesn't like really know anything about it. And they're standing in front of a very large house that's in the village that the man in the beginning at the toll booth had said Harjosari. That's kind of where she's from, and since they don't have any money or any prospects, they decide to hop on a 6-hour bus ride to go to this remote village where they don't exactly know where it is. It's kind of like they're going to a town that's somewhere in the general direction of this place.
Yeah, it doesn't pull up on Google Maps if you were wondering. They tried.
Again, they thought of everything with this movie.
They did. I appreciate that. So on that bus ride, of course, you have to have like a cryptic motherfucker like giving you breadcrumbs of the story, right? Of course, there's some creep who appears who's he says he went to the university for Russian literature.
He's a professor of Russian literature.
Oh yeah, he's a professor of Russian literature, and he's a big fan of languages. He loves all the languages. So, of course, Maya is like, well, what do you know about this one? Shows him the picture of the parchment that was stuck inside her body for, God knows, 20 years, I guess? Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I know exactly what that is, which is very convenient, I would say.
He's like, I got this. This is an ancient shamanic spell, I guess, that protects the bear from great evil. Something like that.
Which is good. But
which is bad because now she doesn't have it.
That's right. Also, he mentions that the person that made it was evil. I don't know how he's able to judge that, but
from the handwriting,
yeah, it's like one of those FBI crime lab guys.
I mean, it just comes with Russian literature, right? You study Russian literature, you study ancient evil Javanese magic. I guess like he minored in evil spells or something.
Yeah, I mean that's it. You gotta have a minor if you want to take a job in the humanities teaching. You need that. So that's good to know. An evil person gave her an incantation to protect her, but she doesn't have that anymore, and that's not great. So of course she's looking out the window and seeing visions of creepy little girls outside repeatedly, which is not good. You see him, and then 6 miles down the road you see him again. They can't run that fast. That's a bad sign. I think she shares her concerns with Denny, doesn't she?
And she just kind of blows him off.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's like 1 a.m. Who's going to believe? Yeah, I mean, you're tired, can't sleep. You're on a shitty long haul bus going to the middle of nowhere. You're going to start seeing things.
Absolutely. So it's no big concern, and they're right. They make it to the village without any problem. At which point they're not really sure where to go. So they find a local guy with a horse cart, and he squeezes him a bit to take him out to the even more remote part of the village from wherever they came from was. Again, really nailing here. It is far. It's far from everything. So their idea behind this is like they wanted to go to this house, this grand house that they have from this picture, because it's possible if it's Maya's house, she could maybe like sell it because they're in pretty dire financial straits. And a thing that I kept thinking about is like, well, if they're out in this middle of nowhere, bumfucking Egypt place, like I don't know who you're going to sell it to. That's my one hang up with this movie, the thing that didn't fit.
Strip it for copper wiring.
There you go. But regardless, they're not able to pay their rent. They're not selling anything in their store. They need to try something, so that's why they're going out there. I think along the way, they encounter. Gosh, I'm trying to remember the fellow's name. The puppet master.
Kisaptadi.
Kiswapadi.
So they get the impression that this is the head honcho out this way. They need to talk to this feller, understand what's up with his house. Maybe if they could sell it, who owns it right now? What's up with all that? What's up with his money situation? And they get kind of blown off by all these villagers. It's really kind of rude, I would say.
I mean, can you really have like a folk horror kind of thing if the villagers aren't creepy as fuck and a little hostile?
I guess you're right. It would be. I'm trying to think. If people could just be like really obnoxiously, friendly to you, that could also be a good way of like, oh, this is super evil. Something super bad's going to happen to me. They're going to eat me.
Like a folk horror movie set in the Midwest where people are overly friendly.
You'll eat the lutefisk.
Midsommar is kind of like that, right?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, minus the parts where like that idiot is peeing on the ancestral tree, but
no, I think you're right. They offer you drugs, and they're like, you should probably, bang this daughter of ours or whatever. Super, super giving. That lets you know that it's too much. It's too much. I'm sorry, Andrew. What is our puppet master guy's name again?
Kisapadi.
Kisapadi, who's he's a man about the villages. People like to see him do puppet shows. I was unfamiliar with this Wayang Kulit, I think it's called, the puppet shows that are traditional for this part of the country. You ever heard of those before, Andrew?
No, I mean, this was like the first time I knew some people from Indonesia, but I don't really know very much about Indonesian culture. I just know that most of the country is like pretty devout Muslim. It's pretty poor. A lot of them, emigrate out to nearby countries like Taiwan or Singapore for jobs so they can send money back home. But like a lot of the actual culture of the place, I'm not very familiar with. So yeah, that was the first time I've seen the shadow puppet stuff. Yeah,
I mean, this is all pretty brand new to me. So this traditional style puppetry involves, building elaborate shadow puppets, of these fan structures and telling a story against the backdrop there. And that's good. That's good to understand, the cultural background. But there's nothing about puppetry that I think is wholesome in any way, especially in the confines of a horror movie. So, can you take us what happens from here, Jordan?
So they're walking around this village, and they're kind of getting the cold shoulder from a lot of the people. They go to Kisaptari's house, and they're told by an old twitchy woman inside that he'll be back tomorrow, and it's very awkward and creepy. They end up going to the house. They find it from the picture and end up breaking in. It's all overgrown, but even when they go inside, there's still all the furniture is there, and they kind of make themselves at home as best they can. They look around, they find some pictures, but Maya's not in any of the pictures, but the people that were in her picture are there, and just kind of a empty, abandoned house in the forest, creepy atmosphere. And the next day, as they go out, they see a funeral is going by, and this is kind of a repeating theme that happens while they're there. Is at the beginning of the day, there's a funeral. At the end of the day, there's another funeral, and this kind of keeps happening. They make their way to a cemetery to try to find the people who are supposedly her parents or anything connected to her. And inside the cemetery, they find a bunch of new headstones for newborn babies who only survived like a day or two.
Yeah, it's just headstone after headstone after headstone. It's a bit excessive, I would say.
And they also found at the cemetery gates, her parents' name is covered up by another sign, kind of showing that something has happened where the people in the village don't like her family.
Not a big fan.
It also kind of shows, they're like a pretty important family, because their names on the village, they have like the biggest house in the whole village, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's the house. I think they mention is about 10,000 square feet. So pretty impressive, unless you live like in some Florida suburb. I guess that's normal for you, but for me, that's very big. So they're still trying to make this work. Going around asking townsfolk who basically do not want to talk to them at all. And lying to everyone as well, not about the true nature of their visit, but instead saying that they are college students there to learn more about this traditional form of puppetry. They lie about their ages and their intentions, and as far as I can tell, nobody's buying it whatsoever. Who do they come across before things go deeply wrong?
Well, they go to they spy on a funeral that's happening, where all the village people see them spying on the funeral, and they kind of confront them. Where Kisotari is there, and he addresses them, asking what they're doing, what's going on, and they try to lie and say, "We're college students. We heard you're a great puppet master," and he invites them to his house that night before he goes off to another village to give an interview, talk about it. They go back to the house. Maya goes out to get food while Dinny stays back, and there's a knock at the door, and there's two people who are at the funeral. And I don't know about you guys, but if I'm in a situation where people are like, "Yeah, come with us. It's okay. We'll bring you there. It's no problem." You say no, or you pretend that there are other people in the house, and you say, "Well, I'm going to have to go get Biff and Chuck and the other big guys that are staying with us.
Rocco.
Guys with no necks that'll protect me." But instead, Dinny tries to protect Maya by saying that she is Rahayu. She is the person that they've been mentioning and looking for, and she'll go with them to Kisaptari's house.
There's no way that can go wrong.
I mean, like, okay, sure, you were maybe a little bit too trusting. You thought things would go better than did, but you follow him outside the house. You follow him down a path. You follow them into the woods, and then you follow them on a sub path into the woods. And I think that's the point where you got to go. Nah, I can't continue down this this increasingly secluded path. Eventually, she does say like, I think I've had enough here, and suddenly those guys don't want to take no for an answer. Not great. I believe that the instruction one gives to the other is don't break the skin. Was that it?
Yeah.
So wanting to avoid breaking the skin, instead just clocks her in the back of the head with a rock.
After she like breaks her ankle trying to run.
Oh my god, how did I forget that? That was so fucking gnarly.
I mean, you have to deal with that stuff in real life. Was that accurate looking?
Yeah, that was pretty accurate looking. I mean, she was lucky that like the bone didn't stick out, so it could heal a little bit better, essentially.
And like leg injuries are like so gnarly, man. I remember, what was that one basketball player? Yeah, he had like a break on TV, right?
Oh shit! Yeah, it was like 7 years ago. I was watching the game live.
And if you want gruesome sports injuries, there was a baseball one years ago where a guy slid into home plate and his foot was pointing in the wrong direction when he got up.
Oh man, how did I miss that one? I'm gonna, I'll finish this show and then I'll go, Google world's gnarliest sports injuries.
And there's a ton in like MMA too. Oh man, like whenever someone does like a low kick, and they get checked, and then like their shin snaps in half.
You got floppy shin.
The leg comes back all floppy.
Yeah,
love that. Love to see it. Denny tries to make a break for it. She hits the okie doke. They had set a rope trap for her, and just shatters that fucking ankle. Good lord. And then gets brained with a rock. Where did we go from there, Jordan?
When she wakes up, she's hanging upside down by a rope by her ankles. And there's the two guys who kidnapped her, and there's Kisaptari, who's set up with a whole bunch of knives, and he's not happy with the kidnappers and how they've gone about doing this. And there's some hesitation on his part of what to do and how to do things. And the old lady from before shows up and just slits Denny's throat, 1, 2, 3, thinking that this is what needs to be done. And hopefully all the village's problems will now be settled because they've killed Brahayu.
Yeah, the old lady who comes in like, what the hell are you doing? As in, you kind of get this sensation like, yes, she's going to be like, don't kill this girl. But no, just slits the throat and says, like, we have a baby like going through delivery right now. So I think like the gnarliest part about this movie for me is like these scenes, which you go to right after where a woman's giving birth, and immediately after getting birth, like, Kisaptari goes and fucking drowns this newborn infant, just because it's clear this thing ain't got no skin. That's no good. You need the skin.
Skin's important.
It is. So there were a couple of those scenes where they just go ahead and drown that baby, and man, that one was pretty brutal, I would say, without being like super overt or gory or anything like that. Just pretty brutal.
It's also like a real condition, right? Kids being born without skin.
There's like a condition like Harlequin birth, which is like incredibly rare and like not survivable. It's not survivable at all. So in that case, like you would lack the ability to breathe in the first place. So the condition of just not having skin and otherwise being totally functional, I think they might have created this one specifically for the movie, or maybe there's like a folk tale in Indonesia I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, could be.
Jordan, I lost my place. What are we doing?
So while all this is going on, Maya is in town getting food, and she meets a local villager named Roddy, I think her name is, who plays the part of backstory and helps fill in a lot of the blanks of why there was this empty house, what happened 20 years ago. There was a rumor of this person who owned the house, Maya's father, had maybe made a pact with the devil.
Hate it. Can't
he
do
was
that.
a famous puppet master as well, I think. Was that right?
That's correct. He was better. He was better than Kisaptani.
And because he was richer and he had a beautiful wife, they couldn't conceive a child. And during this time, 3 local village girls had disappeared after the wife had become pregnant. And suddenly a daughter showed up 5 years later, looking healthy and good. And eventually that's later on where we get the explanation of what happened.
Yeah, we have 2 deep backstories, one incomplete and one complete, so let's keep it incomplete for now. There was some Satan involved. You don't want that. So it shows that, in addition to, dealing with Satan, he also loses his mind and fucking murders everybody in his puppeteer orchestra, and as well as his wife, in a big bloody flash across that shadow box. Pretty stylish scene, I would say. What do you think?
I really like the cinematography of the whole movie all the way through. I feel like I like how it's like the cuts are generally slower paced. We have long cuts, and it's not like super frenetic like, I don't know, a lot of Western horror movies are now. Mm-hmm. Excepting the A24 stuff, because that, I guess, is typically more quote unquote arty.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the idea of a movie that can be good, and that's a big sticking point for them. Calling out the haters, sorry. Yeah, so it seems pretty clear that Maya, her real dad, was fucked up. It's no good. It's made things very miserable for everybody around her. So she's also like completely fucked up because like she can't find Denny, and she's real worried about her, and nobody seems to be willing to help all that much.
I did want to bring up, there was one scene after Denny was killed where the old lady was putting up Denny's skin on like clothes hangers.
Oh yeah, shit.
Like,
I think how much longer after that do they reveal that they turn her into like a fucking puppet?
It's not long afterwards, I guess, but yeah, that scene, you see like some strips or whatever, and then you see a full set of titties just hanging off a clothesline. It's like, this is clearly not great.
And once the next baby is born, still without skin, they realize that the woman they killed was not, in fact, Rahayu. So the curse still goes on. And at the same time, I believe Maya spies Saptari drowning one of the babies. And eventually the whole village gets together and tries to find Maya so that they can kill her and hopefully lift this curse.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like these kids are born without skin because of a pact with the devil. Rahayu, Maya / Rahayu, born without skin. Her dad made a deal with the devil, sacrificed those girls, took the skin from the girls, gave it to Rahayu / Maya. Now nobody has skin. Everybody's very mad about this situation, and now they got to go kill her. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. Yeah.
And she's helped by that villager. Rati. When the rest of the village is looking for her, like Rati like hides her and shelters her. You have in her home, and then you have like those like 2 dudes from the village come knocking on her door, and it's like, have you seen Rahayu anywhere? And then she bails out Maya, right?
Yeah.
And then they start get to talking, and then you realize that Rati actually knows that Maya is Rahayu, and that the only reason that she didn't sell her out was because she knows that she had I think like a grandma who was also powerful in magic, and she knows that killing Rahayu is not going to solve the curse. And I believe Rati is also pregnant, and Maya's like, where's your husband? And Rati's like, oh, my husband actually went to the big city a couple months ago to, I think, like, look for a solution to this curse. And then Maya sees like a picture of her and her husband. And I was like, oh shit, it's that dude from the start of the movie.
Yep. I saw this guy get domed by the cops. That's not great. Things are not going well. And poor, like, Rati, like, her life is shit, and she knows it's shit. Like, those two dudes that are coming by her house, trying to find Maya, they, like, one of them also, threatens to rape Rati. And she's just like, first off, fuck you. I'll stab you. And he's like, fine, whatever. And then she threatens to slit her own throat in front of him and haunt him, which is so fucking badass.
Suicide as revenge.
Yeah, I love that. And she's just saying, like, hey, they can kill you. It's not going to change the curse. Nothing is going to change this. Like, our lot in life is pretty much sealed and nothing's going to make it better. So she is very much resigned to the way things are, but at the same time, she doesn't want to inflict any more misery on anybody else. So really, really interesting character that, aside from serving as an exposition dump. So hiding from the villagers that are all they're all drunk and whatever, hooting and hollering and looking to kill her. She gets the idea to call the guy that helped her come into the village from the larger village to bring the cops, and they do, and that goes about how well you'd think it would. What happens there, Jordan?
In what a twist moment, the police officer that he brings is actually from the village and turns around and kills the scooter guy who brought her into the village.
You can't trust cops, folks. So they're like, oh, he was talking to her. We got to call that number. So her ringer will go off and we'll find her. And I just love it. Like, not skipping a beat, she fucking hucks her phone across the jungle, and continues to hide from these folks. She hails down a driver to give her a ride. She gets in the car, and actually, Andrew, can you describe what she sees when, like, she gets in the car?
I think she starts having, like, a vision, right?
Yeah.
And then she has a vision of what has been. So maybe this part's a little bit clunky to me because, like the three girls who'd been murdered, 30 years ago, they show up in her vision and, they just kind of like show her what had happened, what's going on. And you find out, I think it's at this point, you find out that, let me see. So
one of the girl ghosts stops the truck that she's trying to escape.
Oh, yeah.
There's a man driving this truck, and in the seat next to him, the spirit of a little girl shows up and rips her skin off.
Yeah,
causing him to scream in a way that sounds like someone poured hot soup in his lap. He's kind of like, and crashes the car, and Maya is stuck once again in the village.
Dude, that bit with the little girl, like, removing her skin was fucking sick.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot. Yeah, that was. There are. So earlier we were like, there's not much gore in this movie, right? But like when there are gore effects in this movie, they're pretty fucking effective.
Absolutely, yeah. You gotta choose your spots, and I think it does it really effectively there, especially with that one. Like, I was like, fuck, dude. So yeah, there you go. She had an easy way out of the village, but again, don't you know it? Since she's no longer protected by her incantation, she sees the visions, and everyone else does, of a little girl ripping off the skin, causing that driver to wreck the car, and she's shit out of luck again. She continues to see the visions of the little girls, though, and they're a little bit less horrific. Instead, they start guiding her. The three little girls are, appearing in certain alleyways and then in front of houses. taking her into the puppeteer's house and showing her to check this one chest of drawers here. And she
that's where she finds the puppets made out of the girls' skins.
Exactly.
Right?
And they realize that maybe their clues, just with appearing against flashing lights in certain places, are a little bit too oblique. They're like, hey, bury that shit with our bones. Then we'll stop cursing you, okay? So yeah, she goes through and digs up the bones and buries it with the skin. And the curse is fixed. There's no more curse after that. Unfortunately, nobody else knows that. So we have a little bit more drama with our extended family here.
Yeah, the creepy mom shows up. The Kisapati's mom shows up with like all the villagers and stuff, right?
She does, and it becomes clear in a vision from the little girls what exactly happened there with the original flashback. Sure, we know a little bit about a deal with the devil or whatever, but that's not all that happened. Instead, things are a little bit more complicated. So, it's true that Maya's dad was rich and well-loved puppeteer, but he couldn't knock up his beautiful wife. So instead, it was actually somebody else that did the job for him. That, of course, goes incredibly poorly. So Septari,
his mom, I think, hypnotizes both Satati and Maya's mom, right? And then they sleep together.
I think they slept together. He impregnated her, and then she enchanted them or whatever, where they forgot that they. So
they forgot
met.
about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, in the scene where she caresses her son's bare ass.
That was the weirdest fucking part of this entire movie, man.
I mean, I think it's to show like the motherly protection of her son. But yeah, it's funny.
I think it goes a little beyond motherly.
Yeah,
in that scene.
It's like good job fucking there.
Good game, buddy. Just a gentle cup of the tush for your son.
And I'm really glad you brought that up, Jordan, because I wasn't sure if I was making that weird. Shit, what happens there, Jordan?
So yeah, we learned that Maya's mother was actually impregnated by Kisaptati. We also learned that Kisaptati's mother had worked at this house and was impregnated, I think if I remember this correctly, by
Maya's grandpa.
Yes.
The grandfather who lived there, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of that going on. And
so actually, so Maya is actually Kisapati's daughter.
Yeah.
And Maya's supposed dad is actually a half-brother with Kisatati.
Yes, that's correct.
And then in a flashback, we see that Kisatati actually had murdered everyone 30 years ago, but framed Maya's dad for it.
Yes, he was the guy who was whacking everybody in his orchestra and then his wife. So Maya's dad was framed, although he did kill those 3 little girls, I think.
Yeah, he did kill those 3 little girls.
So not totally blameless there. He did kind of fuck that one up a little bit.
Right, well, he killed them because Rahayu had this skin problem and killed them to steal their skin and give her skin, essentially.
I mean, yeah, what self-respecting father wouldn't murder 3 children to make sure and make a deal with the devil to make sure that his daughter had skin?
How big was his daughter that he needed 3 little girls to take their skin?
He wanted some extras in case he messed up.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. You don't want to go in with enough with limited materials. Understand it.
Because then you got to go back to the store.
Yeah, it's a huge fucking hassle. The day's already over by then. Okay, so at this point we've got Maya all strung up. they're getting ready to spill her blood again to end this curse once and for all. But Maya's trying to explain. I did that. I ended the curse for you. You're welcome. Also, like, you're my dad, and you, evil old crone, you're actually my grandmother. I believe that she is able to convince Kisaptari, like, oh, actually, that is what happened. My own mother enchanted me to make me forget all of these things.
And then when his mom decides to, his mom is telling Kisaptari, you can either believe her, you can either believe Maya, or you can believe me. And then, like, Kisaptari doesn't know what to do. And then when his mom tries to go and kill Maya, Kisaptari, like, grabs her hand and then kills himself with a knife.
He kills himself at his mother, which, again, kind of throwback to what Rati was threatening to do to that rapist guy. Super brutal, but we're not done there, are we? Jordan?
The mother, shocked by what has happened and what she has done, caused by her own hand, then kills herself by slitting her own throat, collapsing onto her son's corpse in a protective and loving embrace.
Yes. I was wondering if this was something that was written for the movie, or if it was a cultural thing, like some kind of belief about killing yourself at somebody else as a way to really, throw a fuck you at them. I'm not sure about that, but I can't say I've encountered that in any Western cinema. Certainly not.
And then a healthy baby is born, proving that the curse has been lifted.
The house is clean.
It's like a happy ending, right? Happy ending, everyone.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to thank Maya for actually ending the curse, which I thought was a little bit rude. So she, is warily trying to escape before people change their mind and attack her. And in a bit, really pretty directly inspired by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, she flags down a trucker and is, kind of like... hysterically laughing as she gets away in the back of the truck. And
now she gets to go back to the city where she has no best friend, no job, no phone, but she's alive.
Yeah, things suck. She tries to convince Rati to come along with her, and she's like, no, things are going to suck for me there as well, so it is what it is, man. But we actually...
stick with the suck,
Yeah. And we are treated to an epilogue in this film. Is that how you pronounce that word? I've never said that word out loud, I don't think.
I'm pretty sure it's epilogue.
Okay, good. We're doing great on this one. Jordan, you had some issues with this. What were your thoughts?
The epilogue is we're back in the village. Happy couple is pregnant. The wife goes out to use the bathroom and then looks in the mirror and sees the Kisaptari's mom is in the mirror. She starts to scream. Her baby has been ripped out of her and is being, I guess, eaten by Kisaptari's mom.
Oh yeah, she's
possibly inside the mirrorverse.
Yeah, she in the mirror eating that baby for real.
It's basically like she's come back as like a vengeful ghost, right? And then she's gonna eat all the babies in the village from now on. That's
the vibe that I got from it. Yeah, and then like in the case of it being in the mirror as an epilogue type thing, like I immediately thought of this as like the end of the original Candyman. I don't know if you remember, the ending of that movie in which Virginia Madsen becomes Bloody Mary. It's stabs her ex-husband in the crotch.
I think I've only seen the I guess it's not a remake, it's a sequel, right?
It's a sequel and a remake.
Yeah. I didn't much care for the recent one. I thought I'd highly recommend you check out the original Candyman because it's definitely a little bit more artistically done than almost any other horror movie made in the 90s. They have Philip Glass doing the score.
Oh shit!
It looks great. It's a really surprisingly good movie. Again, I first saw it when I was like 10. It scared the fucking piss out of me. But yeah, Jordan, you weren't such a fan of that epilogue. What was getting your goat there?
I just kind of feel like it was not out of nowhere, but with the tone of the rest of the movie, it didn't quite at least fit for me. Obviously, it leaves things open for a sequel, which is cool if that's what they want to do. It's just kind of like parts of the movie had a little bit of supernatural in it. Obviously, like there's ghost girls and there's curses, but like a lot of the danger is like mostly coming from villagers trying to chase Maya down. So it's kind of like, is this really a supernatural horror movie? Is it more closer to just Alone in the Woods type stuff? And you know, it's a little bit of both. I think I would have, if they were going to go with the curses and the black magic and ancient sort of stuff, I kind of feel like there should have been more of that. And, you know, just doesn't quite balance out as much as
so like more explicit danger from, you know, supernatural shit rather than, you know, maybe it's supernatural, maybe it's just a bunch of villagers losing their minds kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you could have gone a bunch of different ways with the story, and I think this one's fine. Don't get me wrong. You could have had maybe more mystery with it. Like, is this really black magic? Is this really weird curse stuff? Or you could have done, yes, it's black magic, it's curse stuff. Let's go all out. Let's have spooky spirits in the woods. And, you know, it wasn't quite the tone of the movie because there was more humor in it and more of a real physical danger with just crazy villagers with sharp knives and things like that. You could have done different things with it, and you know, I think what they did was good. I just maybe was expecting something else, and just to end it with that sort of extreme magic, otherworldly sort of stuff kind of makes me wish they did more of that then. Like if there is a mirror universe or something like that, why is this the first time we're seeing it? Like even with the girl spirits, the little girls, they were only in the movie for a little bit when you think about it.
That's true. I think it's a similar thing that you were saying though. Like the bits that they were in the film were very effective, and I think you gotta limit that. You gotta be very careful with the stuff that really works. I liked the end of it, the epilogue, simply because it was kind of schlocky. It was very schlocky and very fun.
Yeah, I like the concept of it, you know, and I like the effects they had for the epilogue. So for me, I feel like, you know, I get what you mean by maybe it tonally doesn't like totally fit the rest of the movie, but I guess if I just take it, you know, kind of as it is, I liked that. I liked the bit at the end.
Yeah, again, like a mirror demon eating babies. That's pretty strong. I think you could make if they do a sequel with that. I think that's a strong area to explore. A couple of fun facts about this movie. First of all, Joko Anwar contracted dengue fever the first day of shooting it.
Oh, damn.
So he's a true champ for carrying through and actually making this fucking thing.
That's a serious condition, isn't it?
Yes.
like many American soldiers have died from it. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit helpful now that we have we've got treatments for it and such. It's a little bit better now than if you were in, say, like World War I. But it's still not something. Generally, you want to avoid dengue fever. That's not like licensed medical advice, just throwing it out there. And number two, this movie was submitted by the part of Indonesia to the Academy Awards as a selection for Best Foreign Film, and it was not accepted by those fucking herbs at the Academy Awards.
Lots of drop monocles, I'm sure.
Yeah, fucking losers.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? They're not going to put fucking Death or Bolt Thrower in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though, you know, they totally deserve to be there.
You might get lucky with Metallica.
Wait, even Metallica isn't in there?
Yeah, they're not in there.
Jesus.
Judas Priest is getting in on like a technicality.
Yeah.
It's like the fan's choice or something like that.
And there's a couple of these guys, like it was the last year that they're eligible. Same thing with like the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? Did they retire them?
Yeah, if you have a certain amount of time to get in, whatever, 10 years, and if you don't get in on that last year, you will never get in. You have somehow missed your chance. You could live another 30 years, but if you don't get it in a certain time frame, that's it. Tough luck.
All of these institutions really should just be destroyed. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that we do live in a time where it's so easy to see something like this. Just 15 years ago, the shit would have been unless it was like a huge word of mouth thing, and you'd have to fucking torrent it on LimeWire or whatever. That you can log on to a well-known streaming app and find this now. That is really actually pretty special.
Yeah, you'd have to have that one weird friend who is obsessed with horror movies, and they have a dub of a rip of a copy of a VHS.
And this is after them trying to show you all the guinea pig movies. You don't want to be friends with them anymore. That's how it always goes.
Have you seen have you actually watched any of the guinea pigs?
I have seen one of them. It was like, this is not even a movie. This is nothing.
I've seen clips from, I think, the second one, which is the one with like the samurai dude chopping up something.
Oh yeah, that's not a fucking movie. That's just like little shock bits. It's stupid. All of it's stupid. It's for nerds. But I don't know. I'm really pretty stoked on this one that you shared it with us, and I want to go back and watch Satan's Slaves and get ready for the sequel that's coming out apparently any day now.
I actually didn't enjoy Satan's Slaves as much as Impetigore, I think.
Really?
But yeah, but I feel like that kind of family drama sort of thing doesn't really appeal to me in the same way that. This Impetigore feels like a genre film, but, just from a very different perspective than we're used to from watching, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever's come out of Hollywood. Whereas, I guess Satan's Slaves feels like it could have been made anywhere. It's feels like it's just a family drama kind of movie, and it's just not that interesting. Whereas with Impetigore, I feel like I'm watching something I haven't ever seen before.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. I still haven't seen it, so I'll have to think about this.
We have Rip to Shreds' new album coming out, new tours coming out. Is there anything else we could look forward to from you?
Oh, yes, new Houkago Grind Time. November 4th. Yeah.
For folks that are not familiar, can you describe Houkago Grind Time?
That is anime gore grind.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this time I don't have new body pillow merch for it, but it's pitch shifters, it's super fast blast beats. I got a bunch of sick friends to contribute some guest vocals or solos, like a Keijo from Rotten Sound or Dan from Archagathis or Pharmacist. There's kind of like fun for the whole family there.
Folks, keep up to date with Andrew online. Where should folks follow you to get all the information on your music?
I think they can either probably the best place is either my Instagram, because I kind of like cross post all my stuff on there, or you can just look at my Metal Archives page, because someone will add this stuff there eventually.
Is that weird, just having somebody add all your shit for you?
It's convenient for me.
Yeah, I imagine so. I imagine I'd be weirded out if somebody was like, keeping tabs on me. Well, there you go, folks. Instagram or Metal Archives, that works too. Andrew, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today and for recommending this one for us. And folks out there, get ready for a new Rip to Shreds album. I know that we're all looking forward to it.
For sure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.